Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, VISTA Credit Strategic Lending Corp filed an 8K, and I am seeing a little bit of a puzzle piece that needs fitting. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. The company quietly sold shares without registering them, and the details around that sale are important for understanding what is happening behind the scenes. Let's dive into what VISTA Credit Strategic Lending Corp, or VCLS as their ticker symbol might eventually be, reported. They filed this Form 8K on the 22nd of April 2026. Now, an 8K is like a company's public diary. It is for reporting big events that shareholders need to know about right away. And this one is definitely interesting because it talks about the sale of stock that wasn't registered with the SEC, meaning it wasn't publicly offered in the typical way. The main event here is that the company sold shares of its common stock. Specifically, they sold this batch of 17,0417.73 shares of Class I common stock for a total of $1,287.9. This sale was finalized on April 2026, but the date the sale was effectively made or agreed upon was back on April 2026. This is crucial because it tells us that the price and number of shares were set at the beginning of April and then later confirmed. This kind of sale is usually done under specific exemptions from the usual registration rules, like Section C or Regulation D or S. What this means in simple terms is that the company likely sold these shares directly to a limited number of investors who are often considered sophisticated or accredited investors. They must have represented that they were either wealthy enough to meet certain investment thresholds or not us persons. This is a common way for companies to raise capital without going through the lengthy and expensive process of a public offering. Beyond the stock sale, the filing also gives us a snapshot of the company's financial health as of the 31st of March 2026. They reported a net asset value, or NAV, per S-share of $19.29 for each class of their common stock. Now, NAV per share is a really important number for investment companies like this. It represents the value of each share if the company were to liquidate all its assets and pay off all its liabilities. Think of it as the underlying worth of each share based on its investments. The fact that this NAV per share is just under $20 is a key indicator of the company's value at that point in time. And to give you more context on that NAV, the company had total investments valued at fair market value, along with commitments to invest money in the future, totaling $1.9 billion as of the 31st of March 2026. That's a significant amount of capital deployed or earmarked for investments. They also reported a debt to equity ratio of 0.66 times. This means for every dollar of equity, they have about 66 cents in debt. A ratio below 1 generally indicates that a company is using less debt financing compared to its own capital, which can be seen as a sign of financial stability, though it can also suggest they might not be leveraging their capital as aggressively as they could for growth. So what is the story here? VISTA Credit Strategic Lending Corp is raising capital through private placements, which is a typical strategy for investment firms. They're providing transparency about this sale and also giving investors a clear picture of their net asset value and the scale of their investments. The NAV per share of $19.29 and the $1.9 billion in total investments paint a picture of a substantial and growing lending operation. The debt-to-equity ratio is healthy, suggesting a solid financial foundation. The unregistered sale itself isn't necessarily a red flag, as it is a common way to fund operations for companies like this. However, it does mean that only specific investors got access to this recent batch of shares. For the average investor, the key takeaway is understanding the underlying value of the company through its NAV and its investment portfolio. That is my take. Stay decoded. If you found this analysis helpful, please like and subscribe. And check out the Discord link in the description for more.